In the past couple of years, as more businesses have shifted to online sales and social media has made it harder to reach ideal clients, I think a lot of us have realized the importance of having an email list. One of the best ways to build that list is by offering something free called a lead magnet in exchange for someone's email address. But if you're not sure how to create that lead magnet or deliver it to your audience, stay tuned because we're going to walk through those steps in this video. Hi friends, I'm Krista from Davey and Krista, where we help you build a brand that books. But before we get started, make sure you hit thumbs up on this video and subscribe to our channel to get updates about future videos we release. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the comments below and we'll get back to you. So how do we get people to sign up for our mailing lists? If your only strategy is just to drop a subscribe to my list at the bottom of your website, you're probably going to be a little disappointed with the results. These days, people know that they're signing up for an email list and that they're going to get offer emails, and they're probably going to be pretty unlikely to sign up unless they're just huge fans of you. The most effective way to get people on your mailing list is to give something away for free. A lot of times this comes in the form of a free PDF that people enter their email and then they receive via email. Those PDFs are often filled with really helpful content that your ideal client is interested in and that relates to your business and that they can't find anywhere else on your website. This video is going to give you an overview of what lead magnets are and how do they work, how to create them, how to deliver them, and how to collect email addresses. A lead magnet can be an email sequence that people sign up and get content for. It can be a discount code to your website. It could be a free webinar or a free training, but most often it's a free PDF or some sort of way to deliver really good, high quality free content. A lot of people worry about giving too much free content away, especially if they're already sharing blog posts on their website. But we've learned throughout the history of our business and through some of the other businesses that we serve that you really can never give away too much free content. The more you give away, the more people are going to like you and trust you, and the more likely they're going to be to buy from you. Generally, somebody will see a pop-up on your website, or they'll click on a link from another page on your website, or maybe a Facebook or a Pinterest ad that talks about your lead magnet and what you're giving away. And then they'll go to a landing page where they enter their email address. An email comes to their inbox with a link to confirm their subscription. And once they confirm their subscription, they will get their free content and then they'll be added to your list. The content that you share in your emails is really important and it should pre-qualify your leads. You want to make sure that it relates to the services that you do. And a lot of times, a good way to come up with that content is by thinking about the kinds of questions you're asked during sales calls. So for example, if you're a wedding photographer, something like 5 tips for a stress-free wedding day timeline would probably appeal to your ideal client, especially in the season that they're in, and it would be something that they'd be likely to click on, and then you can follow up with them. A few tips. When it comes to titling your content, it's really good to include a benefit in the title. So something like stress-free wedding day, beautiful photos in the rain. That helps your ideal clients visualize what the results are going to be when they download your guide. You also want to make sure that your guide is pretty. While it doesn't need to be 100 pages and look like Vogue magazine, you do want to make sure that it has some good visuals. One big thing to keep in mind though is that you don't want to load so many visuals in that the file gets too large, because Google is going to block out anything that is over 25 megabytes, and then that's going to hurt your deliverability. So people might enter in their email address, but then your email gets blocked because the file is too large. It's also important to keep in mind that some people might be printing these guides. So while you want to have some images, you don't want to have so many that it makes it really difficult to print. A good lead magnet should educate and lead to further action. So if you're a wedding photographer who's sharing a guide about stress-free wedding day photos, you might want to include some subtle details about how you show up an hour early to ensure that you have plenty of time to get started on a wedding day. You might include how an engagement session is something that you offer complimentary to make sure that people feel comfortable in front of the camera, and just work in subtle tips like that that show how professional you are, how you serve your clients, and show how you're the right choice for them. At the end of the guide, you might also encourage couples to view your portfolio or set up a call to chat with you. You also want to make sure that you elaborate on but don't recycle blog posts. Ideally, the content would be something that people can't find anywhere else on your website. I think the only exception would be if you were retiring a really popular blog post and you wanted to turn that into a lead magnet, but otherwise it should be something that gives people a reason to enter their email address. It's really eye-catching to include numbers, especially odd numbers. numbers. Odd numbers are something that people remember, and it helps them know that there's a set number of tips. So if you say 7 tips for a stress-free wedding day, people know that they're going to get 7 actionable tips, or at least they hope that they will. Whereas opposed to you just say how to have a stress-free wedding day. It doesn't give them the mindset of exactly what they're going to be getting when they download your guide. And so it's really helpful and will probably convert better if you include a number, especially an odd number, in your guide. With that said, try not to lower the quality of your content. So if you only have 4 tips, just share 4 tips. When it comes to designing your content, you want to make sure it's visually appealing, but like I said before, it doesn't need to be super fancy. We design our PDFs in Adobe InDesign, but if you don't have the software or if it's a little intimidating, Google Docs, especially Google Slides or Keynote or even Microsoft Word are all great ways to put together a nice looking PDF. And even if you're doing it in something like Keynote, you can export it as a PDF that people can then download. But whatever software you use, make sure that however you're exporting it, the text is editable as text. So you want to be able to select the text in the PDF. That's important for screen readers to make sure that people who are visually impaired can either have it translated to them or they could bump it up so that they could see it at a larger size, and also so that people can copy and paste it. I would avoid something like Photoshop because when you export a image from Photoshop, it makes it all a JPEG image or all rasterized. So the text isn't editable, and that's really hard for the visually impaired. And then that also makes your file sizes really, really large. And like I said before, you want to make sure that your files aren't so big that Google or any other email platform is blocking them. I think the exception might be that you could probably get away with having a more visual, pretty cover. So maybe you do that in Photoshop and then you merge that with a more simple text doc that you designed in Google Docs or Slides or something like that. And keep in mind that it doesn't have to be a PDF. Some of our lead magnets are actually hidden web pages on our site. So someone enters in the email address and then they get a link to that page. And while technically these pages are hidden from search engines, they are a little bit easier to share without putting your email address. So just something to keep in mind if you go the web page route. When it comes to delivering your lead magnet, you're going to need to sign up for a third-party email list platform. So something like Flodesk or ConvertKit. Technically, most websites could probably be finagled to deliver a PDF or at least link to it, but probably not in exchange for an email address, and you don't get all of the mailing capabilities that you get with a true mailing list platform. If you're new to mailing lists, we highly recommend Flodesk. It is beautiful, it is really easy to use, they are constantly innovating on the software, and they just make it really straightforward to create a beautiful landing page, get someone's email, send them a welcome email with the file, and then put together a welcome sequence if you want to keep your users engaged. We have an affiliate link below that is going to save you 50% of the monthly cost, so we'll drop that in the comments. And if you want a detailed video about how to create and deliver lead magnets in Flodesk, check out our other video about creating and delivering lead magnets in Flodesk. ConvertKit is the software that we use and we have been using for a really long time. It can get pretty fancy when it comes to lists building and tagging and different forms that do different things, and we've been really happy with the software. With tagging, if for example somebody were to come into your email list when they click on a free guide about lighting, they get tagged with the tag lighting, and then from there you can also send them other content about lighting, or they could only get specific emails that include that tag. And so it can get pretty intricate when it comes to tagging, and that's one of the reasons why we have really enjoyed using it. If you want a detailed look about delivering lead magnets in ConvertKit, check out our video on that specific topic. The last mailing list software that a lot of people still use is MailChimp. We used to recommend this in the past because it was a great getting started option, but it's list-based and it doesn't make delivering lead magnets easy. We noticed a lot of people were spending hours trying to figure out what took minutes in Flodesk to do, and so since Flodesk came out, we have stopped recommending MailChimp and we just recommend Flodesk. Once you've made your lead magnet and you've signed up for your mailing list software and made a form in that software, the next step is going to be to add that mailing list sign up form to your website. There are a few different ways to do this. The first way, and this is probably our preferred method, is to create a landing page. So with a landing page, somebody would visit that page. They'd probably see the headline, they'd see a picture of your guide or a picture of the kind of content that you're going to be sending them. They'll probably see a few details and benefits about the PDF, and then there'll just be a spot to enter their email address. One key thing to keep in mind when you do one of these pages is that you don't want them to be able to click anywhere except to enter their email address. Having a landing page makes it really easy to send people to it via social media or Facebook ads or other blog posts. Landing pages can live on their own URL, or they could live on a URL on your site. So yourfreeguide.com or daveyandkrista.com/freeguide. Both methods are effective. You just want to make sure that the URL is short and easy to remember. We actually have a free landing page template available for both Showit and WordPress Elementor, and so we'll drop that in the show notes below. Pop-ups are another great way to collect email addresses. If you visit our website, especially if you visit for the first time, most likely after not that long, you're going to see one of our pop-ups. All of our website templates include built-in pop-ups, but we honestly don't recommend that method because those built-in pop-ups tend to not be as intuitive as pop-ups from your mailing list provider. So Flodesk, for example, has really great pop-ups that you can add to your website, and it's intuitive, so it knows if somebody has seen that pop up before, like within the last 14 days, and it won't show it to them. It also knows if they've already entered in their email address, and it won't show that pop up if they've already done that. And so it's a good way to keep your pop-ups from being kind of irritating to your audience. There are also third-party solutions like ConvertBox, which we use on our website, which can get really fancy and really intricate and send different pop-ups to different pages, and you can make sure that they don't overlap with each other. And we're big fans of ConvertBox, so we'll include a link to that in the show notes below too. Can also be a good idea to highlight your lead magnet on your website. So if you go to our website and go a lot of times to the bottom of the page, you'll see a title, a blurb, and then a link to one of our landing pages. This way people see your lead magnets and will hopefully subscribe to them even if they haven't seen your landing page or they haven't seen your pop-ups. There you have it, steps for creating and delivering a lead magnet. If you're still on the fence about choosing a website platform, check out the next video, which is a comparison between Flodesk and ConvertKit. And if you have any questions or anything you'd like to see us cover in future videos, make sure you drop that in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos. Thanks, guys.